going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and today is September 11th of 2024. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I'm here today to try to answer a big question on the minds of many people. Is it finally time for a reversal in the altcoin market? Are we seeing the necessary signs of upward price movement in Bitcoin that set the foundation for altcoin momentum to return and for us to finally start seeing some opportunities where over the next couple of months we could potentially make a 50, 100% return, maybe even 3 or 4x our capital in the right narratives and right plays? This is what we've been waiting for months. So I want to spend some time to break it all down. If you got the time, grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to talk about everything you need to know. And if you happen to enjoy the video, consider dropping a like. It's a great way to support the channel. Let's go ahead and kick things off. So I want to start here by talking a little bit about what's going on with Bitcoin's price, because in order to understand where altcoins are heading, we need to understand where Bitcoin's going. Bitcoin is essentially the leader of the pack. It is going to drag markets upwards, and it is going to drag markets downwards. At a minimum, we are going to need Bitcoin to start trending higher. It is the broad measurement in many ways of liquidity inflows and optimism, and or the opposite if there's a lack thereof. So we need to make sure that that's at play. Right now we're seeing something pretty important here. If you watched the last previous video, I know some people like to just look at my titles and thumbnails, but if you really are going on and actually watching the videos themselves, in the Bitcoin analysis, we talked about one of two scenarios playing out. We talked about either having the kind of more painful scenario. This was the second one we discussed, where we come down to the 200-week moving average, which definitely I think is still in the cards if we don't see price action develop over the next couple of days. Or we have a scenario here where we may be seeing a sort of inverse head and shoulder, or at a minimum, a reclaim of the prior lows from back in July for Bitcoin, clearing through our short-term moving averages and starting to trend higher here, hopefully getting into a position where we could start to charter to new all-time highs again. That's the kind of stuff that is going to, over the next few weeks, give altcoins a foundation to be able to start really trending higher, for clear narratives to start showing up. So again, Bitcoin plays a huge role in this story. So if we just take a look back here at Bitcoin before we dive into the altcoin chart, I wanted to dive into the hourly chart here, because what we are seeing is the first initial step. We have set in and reclaimed that low for the time being that we saw back in July around 52,500. So we're right around that range back here on Friday of last week. And since then, we've been slowly but steadily trending up, coming to test that 21-day moving average, and now are resting on support here, at least in the short term, on our 4-hour EMAs. It is a battle of the moving averages here. The 4-hour MAs, in this case the 50, 21, and 9-hour moving average, are so far holding general support here. If we can hold on those moving averages and squeeze up to around $60,000 on Bitcoin for a nice daily close above that 21-day, that is going to be a really positive sign here. It's going to give bulls an opportunity to really show up to the plate and start changing sentiment, similar to what we saw back here in August or what we saw back here in July, where usually when that happens, you're going to have a couple days at a minimum of continuation. And really, how the market reacts, how that strength plays out, is going to give us a big hint. And then it's going to be the next question of getting above these long-term moving averages. I think if you get above 65K, like if we're getting a weekly close above there, that's a huge tick off box, positive for the bulls and their narrative that we're going higher, right? We got to see if we can do that. So far, the last 2 times, we have not been able to do that. We have not been able to have a significant daily close or weekly close above those moving averages, the blue line on our chart. That is the ultimate kicker, I think, that would get me excited about making positions in altcoins. So keep that in mind. That's the Bitcoin portion of what we need to discuss. But then obviously, we want to go into the conversation of talking about altcoins. Altcoins have made some really interesting progress. Over the last couple of weeks, we have started to see something different. The last couple of months, since we really cashed out back in March, which was a really good move, we locked in a lot of profits. Since then, there have been constant lower highs and lower lows, but now, since back throughout the month of August and September, we actually, within a month, set a higher significant low from around $152 billion in market cap here to around $169 or $170 billion, give or take. This is significant because we are for the first time setting higher lows here when it comes to price. And we already set in a pretty significant relative high range here back around $226 billion. And now it's a question of, can we really set in a higher high? Because that's the base foundation of an uptrend. Higher lows, higher highs. We're starting to test up against some of those long-term moving averages. We're no longer fading right above the 21-day and getting shot down at that 100-day moving average. If we can get above there and get a real weekly close above that 100-day moving average, the purple lines on our chart, starting to test in that 200-day pocket, I'm going to start getting really interested, because that's going to be the sign to me that, hey, we're at a nice discount from that range. We're not chasing, hopeful bottoms in the market that could just reverse back down. We are waiting for the clear signs of momentum to return. We want to be in the market in and out relatively quick when it comes to altcoins, because the returns are in a very short window of time. So that's a key point here. And not to mention, we also have the question of, are altcoins outpacing Bitcoin? Well, we can take a look at that. There's something really interesting going on here. And again, unfortunately, not everyone always looks at ratios. A lot of people look at the dollar comparative and they say, hey, I made 20% on being on this altcoin position. Isn't that great? And sure, that's great, but it could have been that Bitcoin during that period of time did a 30% return or 40%. Right? So we want to make sure that we are outpacing Bitcoin. And here's something really interesting. Here's the kicker. We are back down towards the June lows in the altcoin Bitcoin comparative. You'll see something relatively similar if you take a look at others' dominance, right? So how we're building this ratio here, just so you guys can take it home, make it yourself on your chart. I'm not about trying to gatekeep information. I want to let you guys know there's a lot of great free resources out there. There's obviously the others metric, which you can type here into TradingView. And once you've got that typed out, you can type in BTC, hit the down arrow here, and you get the Bitcoin market cap. So we're dividing. It's not a perfect measurement here, but what it's essentially doing is taking the market cap of all other coins outside of the top 10, really the juicy altcoin market we're looking for, and dividing it by the Bitcoin valuation, right? Essentially, this gives us an idea of where the altcoin market stands against Bitcoin. Right now, we're in the lower general accumulation range according to history since back in 2017. It's the first time we've actually been in this pocket since back in 2020, when we had really our major run up here during that period of time. So it is an area historically. Doesn't mean it's going to hold. It's not guaranteed, but at least it's a range that's a lot more favorable to start taking risk than where we were back here in December of 2023 or in March of 2024, when we were pressing up resistance against that 200 week. So just keeping that in mind here, not to mention for the past 2 months, right? Coming up, okay, not exactly 2 months, about a month and a half, we've actually had altcoins keeping up with Bitcoin. Not incredibly bullish, but definitely a really good sign comparative to the consistent downtrend and decline in market dominance that other coins or altcoins have been seeing for the past few months. So again, another tick off here for the bulls. Good sign here. Not to mention, if you dive into that shorter term time frame, while we are far away from our long-term moving averages like the 100-day and the 200-day, what I see here on the hourly time frame is our short-term moving averages starting to play favor again like they were back here. Let's see if that can hold, if we can get a bounce up here towards that 100-day. If you're starting to see that other coins here are getting above the 100-day moving average, I would start getting really interested, because since back here, since we broke it in April of 2024, we have not been able to reclaim that moving average. And it's at a much lower level. It's much easier to do it. We don't need as much liquidity as we would have needed back then to face sell side pressure. So this to me is getting me really excited about a potential scenario where altcoins could start to reverse. And it's not that far away. We just need to get it back above where we were here in the short term, back in late July or here in late August. It is not a difficult task for altcoins to do, and from there that could be another tick off here that would get me excited. So we need Bitcoin moving up in dollar terms, getting above some of those long-term moving averages. We need other coins continuing to outpace Bitcoin like they've been doing since back here over the last week. Definitely a good first sign. Nothing that really moves the needle. We've seen these kind of rallies before. I need to see something that's going to show me that the juice of the momentum is there. I'm sorry for all my visual metaphors, but I like to be creative with my language. I like to talk about the emotion of the market. We need to see that price is telling us very clearly that sentiment is flipping and that the bulls are in charge. But what I wanted to point out that was interesting earlier is that it's not only interesting that other coins here, really the kind of bulk risk end of the market, is outpacing Bitcoin, but we are seeing that the large caps, the usually more defensive or safer plays in the altcoin space, that were previously outpacing Bitcoin on the way up and obviously went down with the rest of altcoins over the past few months, are still relatively weak against Bitcoin. Take a look at Ethereum, right? With the relative weakness of not only all ETF inflows, even Bitcoin, but really for the Ethereum ETF launch, which has just been a complete flounder, has been a terrible launch, right? We can see here, Ethereum is bleeding down to its capitulative lows from back on August 5th. And it looks like it could bleed even more. At a minimum, getting a deviation low, trending below those prior lows from back in late August or early August. And maybe from there finding some accumulators when everyone starts to pile in on shorts and try to go, betting against the market. That might be enough to provide the liquidity for accumulators and a short squeeze to really pop up prices higher. But I mean, you don't need me to tell you this, guys. It's not even able to get above those 4-hour moving averages, which are trending down. The 21-day is continuously trending down here. No change in that trend. But also, in newcomers like Solana, it's not looking incredibly good. While it was looking great throughout 2023 and 2024 for the most part, it's not looking good right now for Solana. And just take a look here. We can take it back here to the daily. This probably gives you a better visual representation. This just looks to me like we've been in a major distribution pattern since back in December 2023, nearly a year of sideways price action against Bitcoin. And while that's great considering that, maybe for a few of these months, Bitcoin was going up, so Solana was up still in dollar terms. In the case of a long-term ability to outpace Bitcoin, we need to be really, cautious here, because right now we are hanging by a thread on that 200-day moving average. We're spending a lot more time there. It doesn't look like a bullish sign to me personally. So this is again why I've been emphasizing that at this point in the cycle, if we are not only going to have kind of an explosive blow-off top altcoin cycle or a altcoin supercycle, whatever label you want to toss at it, where really you can make those life-changing returns. Bitcoin goes for its new all-time highs. I do not think you are going to find them in Ethereum or Ethereum or Solana. I think there's too much sell-side pressure here in these names, too much insiders. Solana, in many ways, while it's got the meme coin craze, in my opinion, it's a ghost chain far beyond the statistics that people cite that showcases that it's somehow alive. It's been an insider job from the beginning. Most of you probably know this if you've kept up with crypto markets for a long time. Sorry to be a little bit opinionated, but really there aren't any killer applications being built on Solana that I can really name of that I'd have to use or that really makes Solana a standout chain. It's got meme coins and otherwise a lot of insiders, market makers, and proponents who are obviously wanting to prop it up so that they can essentially be able to sell at a higher price, right? Take a look here though at some of the names that we've talked about. One of the plays we sent out in our newsletter, the Dash Report, it's a play we've talked about here in this channel, but what we really did is in the Dash Report indicate which price levels we'd be interested at. Take a look at this, Fetch, or essentially artificial, ASI in this case is the new project name, Artificial Superintelligence. It's a conglomeration of Fetch, AI. You also have SingularityNet, and I think also Ocean Protocol. Like three major, big data AI related projects. We had essentially talked about watching this one at a discount between this range of prior resistance in the past becoming support, and also watching that 200-week moving average. And we highlighted this general range, and look at that. As we got the clear through in the 21-day at this range, multiple weeks of support here. Huge breakout here so far. So this has been one that has paid a lot of people forward here. And again, I want to emphasize here that we're focused again on the broader range of the altcoin market, but we're not always just chasing the absolute small caps. We're looking for those really solid risk-reward balanced mid caps. Plays that are around $1 billion, $3 billion in market cap that could easily go to being a $10 billion project, $20 billion project, or maybe really becoming something far beyond that in the return of a altcoin cycle. And I think this is one of those plays here. The AI narrative is still relatively strong. NVIDIA has slowed down a little bit, but these names sold off big time. And this pretty much found a low right near the support range we're looking. We've basically been looking at somewhere around this range we saw back in June and here where we went in August. This is that general kind of sideways consolidation range that was previous resistance that could become support. And outside of this, well, we also talked about Render, right? Render so far, right, from this range here, testing that prior support range in the past, has been pretty much the perfect opportunity to go long on this, right? So again, these are some of the names that we've been talking about within the Dash Report. There are other names, again, that we emphasize and set trade setups for. But above all, if you guys are interested to get some of these setups early on, to see the names that we are watching, and to get them at nice accumulation ranges, you can always check out the Dash report down below in the description. It's our newsletter here on the channel. It costs less than essentially a cup of coffee. It's $1 a day, essentially, so to speak, right? Less than $1 a day. And you can get 20% off if you sign up on an annualized basis. But the whole key point here of the Dash report is to give you a full overview, a 20-page plus report each month on crypto, on stocks, on the trade setups we're watching for in those markets, as well as commodities and Forex. So we're giving a full 360-degree view on all the opportunities that we see. And outside of this, we'll filter out a lot of the things that aren't interesting right now, that aren't trending, so we don't waste our time on all the noise trying to do it ourselves, right? Giving a good framework so you guys can use it and go out and do it on your own and be able to figure out where the opportunities are to dramatically simplify the process. But beyond that, there's also Russ's trade alerts in there as well. He's sending out multiple alerts every single week on scalp setups in the market. We have our exclusive market updates that I'll send out from time to time, our mid-month webinars where you guys can ask me questions and I'll give you guys the answers to them and where I think the market is heading. And we can dive through the charts and have a really great time. And you get access to the Dash Report discussion group, which has hundreds of really high quality members sharing their ideas and thoughts in the market. It's not just an echo chamber of me talking all the time, as it shouldn't be. It should be about all of you guys coming in and participating and being a part of this great community. So if you guys are interested, again, check out the link down below in the description. Irrespective, it's just a great way to support all the free content we put out here on this channel. So if you guys enjoy my updates I put out, as well as Russ's videos, it's a great way to support beyond obviously dropping a like. There are, of course, a couple other different altcoins that are showing strength, and this is, again, what I wanted to get to in covering these individual topics or individual plays is that we are seeing some market leaders starting to present themselves. You're seeing Rune, another Bitcoin infrastructure play. I mean, of course, they have support for a couple other networks as well, but the main thing here is that the Bitcoin infrastructure play for Rune is what's giving it this strength. Since back in August, this has already accelerated, I think, a good 33% off the lows, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah, excuse me, a little bit more than that, around 40%. Getting above that 100-day moving average, something that wasn't happening back here in May. I like to see it. I like to see the reclaiming of those moving averages and no significant hesitation so far. Ordinals, while not as strong here, at least has been neutral and basically ranging at this prior range from back here in November 2023. Is finally starting to set slightly higher lows and higher highs, getting close to that 100-day, and now looks like it has the foundation not only at a lower price to get above that 100-day, but potentially get back above that 200-day. These are strong momentum plays. They are strong narratives as of this cycle, with the Bitcoin ETFs playing a critical role in providing the support for some of these altcoins because of the optimism around institutionalization of Bitcoin. And of course, we also have the topic of meme coins, one of the real risk-on sentiment plays. And a lot of people have been asking me, Nick, are you bullish on meme coins again? You made some meme coin trades back in Q1. In the Dash report, again, we had some great alerts out there, made some really great returns, risking very minimal capital. And a lot of people are probably wondering, are meme coins back in the picture, Nick? And I'll say one thing, which is that meme coins in the short term are at least showing the signs of sideways price movement. Essentially, we might be seeing accumulation, large stakeholders starting to build their bets for the next couple of months. But at the same time, if we take a look here at the annualized basis, we are really not seeing any significant trend in dollar terms. Many of the altcoin plays are still performing weak against Bitcoin. We are seeing, for example, over the long term, just something to be made aware of. If you really look at it as a sector or a market capitalization of altcoins, we set in a significant lower high. It's a bit difficult while I'm dragging over, so I'll just let you take a look at it here. But you can see that the high here was around $67-69 billion. No pun intended. All right, but that's of course that's exactly where the meme coin market would take its valuation to. You know that, right? $69 billion. But my main point here in all seriousness is that we have a lower high versus the two prior that we set back in 2021. So it's now a question of, can the meme coin market really build a foundation here and start trending higher? I'm not really interested in meme coins until I see significant momentum come back, and it could be very well that these plays start taking off and leading the market towards the later stages when the risk-on narrative is clear and people start getting incredibly greedy, start chasing those exponential returns and some of the plays in the market that have shown those returns in the past. I'll give an example with right? Just barely trending here. Again, good sign to see, similar to Ordi in this case, as we talked about earlier, but not really being able to break above those moving averages just yet. When we start seeing that, maybe WIF is an interesting play to look at. But we can also see Pepe showing a lot more dramatic volatility throughout its history against Bitcoin, having a much more stronger run-up, but having a stronger sell-off here, down below that 200-day moving average with the 100-day trending down. Not a good look here, right? So I would say that at the end of the day, while I'm not giving you guys direct financial advice, I'm not even touching meme coins right now, but I would say especially stay away from the large cap plays. Focus again on the smaller cap plays. I mean, Dogecoin is a great example. It's at its February lows. All right, it really only started to outpace Bitcoin here in February and March, and afterwards it just faded those gains. We are trying to see, I think, if the 100-month moving average, a very long-term moving average, if that can be support, and if it can't, then this is just going to continue to underperform against Bitcoin and probably go into this lower range here where maybe you get more significant accumulation, then maybe a larger spring up later in the cycle. So again, I'm all about making sure that you guys not only make returns in the market, but that you're going to outpace Bitcoin if you're going to be dabbling in altcoins. It is a very short window of time, these very short windows that are actually favorable for you to go into altcoins. That's just the history here of crypto markets that we have to work with. Maybe that changes in the future when there's more use cases for altcoins, but for the most part, altcoins benefit during very short windows of time. You see that here very clearly with Dogecoin over the last couple of years during the bear market and in the uptrend that we've seen in the market. I wouldn't even call it a bull market yet because we haven't really had a serious breakthrough of the prior all-time highs in 2021. We set a slightly higher level, but we need to be very cautious here about distribution and a weakening in the fundamentals of altcoins. And we need to stick to plays and narratives that are consistent with each cycle, that have strong fundamentals, that are actually doing exciting things, that irrespective of where the market is, are not just baseless plays like meme coins, but actually have the foundation and bedrock to be able to go out and become the next Solana or the next Ethereum. And that's why I really highly recommend you guys continue to keep an eye on alternative layer 1 protocols. This is one of the most consistent narratives in any given cycle. And I say that because one of our long-term partners here in this channel, Al is continuing to deliver here during a relatively silent period in the market. The great thing I love about Al, I've gotten to know the team since back in late 2022 when I got to visit their offices in Poland. And the thing I learned since then, getting to know them, is not only that they're a serious team, but irrespective of if the market's doing great or the market's doing bad, they're constantly delivering here. And they're constantly building with a long-term vision. They're not playing short-term games. And one of those things that they just recently launched is the Neon program. This is a major combination of enterprise partners. Pairpoint, accompanied by Vodafone. So this is one of the huge, for those who don't know, Vodafone is a massive telecom provider. This is alongside Al-Zero's partnership as well with major telecom providers as well. They've already got in the works. So they've got another major European-based telecom provider who's partnering in alongside Sumitomo Group, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and essentially creating Neon. And this is going to be a huge onboarding process and program that allows for new concepts and new ideas to launch within the Al-Zero ecosystem. To really have companies like T-Mobile, to have Vodafone subsidiaries already partnering with Al-Zero, I haven't seen this kind of enterprise adoption in any other L1 over the past couple of months and the last couple of years for that matter. And I think the reason it's happening with Al-Zero, this is a valuable reason why I think you guys should at least take the time, whenever you get out your break, to just research the protocol, check out the link down below in the description, just dive into the website and some of these initiatives, is because Al-Zero is a privacy-preserving layer 1 network. And it also has layer 2 capabilities. It has EVM compatibility. But this privacy preservation is going to allow for a ton of enterprise companies. You're already seeing it here with companies like Vodafone, and you're seeing it with T-Mobile, right? That they essentially are utilizing networks like Al-Zero, partnering with the networks like Al-Zero because of the ability to be GDPR compliant, having the right to be forgotten, having privacy-preserving features. This essentially allows Al-Zero to be able to stand out against Ethereum and Solana in a big way and still provide scalability, still provide functionality, whether it's Cosmos, WASM programming functionality, or if you're talking about the functionality of EVM or if you're in virtual machine environments, you can take the existing applications and port them in. So you already have all of the same functionality of some of the biggest networks, but beyond that, you also have the privacy preservation, which is going to allow for so much enterprise adoption beyond what we've seen. This is yet another major announcement alongside their token economics recent announcement that they made. So if you guys are interested, check out the link down below in the description. Really great project. There's a reason we partner with them for the long term. I really like what Zero is doing, and I think they got a lot of potential going forward. But at the end of the day, guys, I want to bring it back here to center and talk about how right now we're at a very critical point within price action. This is a moment where the bulls have got to show up here, especially in Bitcoin. I don't really care so much about what's going on with altcoin market cap. There's a ton of charts I could be watching out there. But this is what I'm watching. I'm watching the Bitcoin price chart because for the first time, we might be establishing that inverse pattern to really start whipsawing higher and getting back above the prior highs of the past. If we can't establish this low here, if we can't get above the 21-day moving average, if we get shot down again at the 100-day or 200-day over the next week, even with a breakthrough in that 21-day, if we just simply get chopped here and get shot down, the next level I see is that 200-week. And to be honest, I'm fine with either scenario. I'm fine with us clearing those moving averages and buying at a slightly higher price. I'm okay with looking for capitulation opportunities down here, the 200-week moving average. It's all about listening to price and setting up those risk-reward setups that are favorable to you as a trader. We have been able to avoid months of weakness, of bleeding in altcoins. We have got capital ready to deploy if we so choose to. And we're going to wait for the right signs to present themselves, because if they do, then we can have an opportunity to make some serious returns in the market. At least a much better risk setup than what we would have had if we just simply would have been holding over these last couple of months, when so many people were telling you that the altcoin cycle was inevitable, that there was an ability for markets to pull back. We were one of the few voices talking about that here, guys. And I'll say that with pride. We've made some wrong calls in the past. I don't want to come across as being perfect. But man, we've gotten a lot more accurate over the last couple of months. And it's because we've been leaning back on those moving averages, leaning into price. And if you listen to price, price will tell you all you need to know. We don't listen to headlines too much. Data science models are great. But at the end of the day, price action is king. Thanks so much, guys, for letting me ramble on. As always, if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like. It's a great way to support the channel. And I will see you guys right back here on Monday next week. Be sure to check out the Dash report. Consider dropping a like. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone.